the savior of the city, and the hand of the king.
It all starts with a horse, and the man who rides it straight into the throne room. There's a ceremony happening in King's Landing. Season 2, Episode 10. The Battle of the Blackwater is over. Stannis Baratheon's fleet is ash on the river, and now it's time for the winners to collect their prizes. Lords are being rewarded. Alliances are being sealed. Joffrey is doing his favorite thing in the world, sitting on that big, ugly chair and pretending he matters. And then, through the doors of the throne room, Tywin Lannister rides in on horseback. Not walks, rides. Now you need to understand what just happened in this city. For weeks, King's Landing has been in chaos. Stannis brought a massive army to the gates. The wildfire trap, Tyrion's plan, Tyrion's gamble, bought the city time, but it wasn't enough. The Hound deserted. Joffrey ran. Cersei was moments away from poisoning her own son on the Iron Throne rather than let Stannis take them alive. And it was Tyrion, the acting hand, the man nobody wanted in charge, who personally led the counterattack that held the line just long enough for reinforcements to arrive. Those reinforcements, Tywin Lannister and the combined Lannister-Tyrell army sweeping in at the last possible second to crush Stannis from the flank. The battle was won. The city was saved. So here we are, the morning after. The court has assembled for a formal ceremony to hand out honors and titles. And the very first thing that happens is Tywin Lannister turning it into a performance. You see, nobody rides a horse into a throne room. It's not done, it's not practical, it's not even particularly dignified, and in fact, the horse deposits a visible pile of manure on the floor of the Red Keep as it enters. But that's almost the point. Tywin doesn't care about the mess. He doesn't care about protocol. What he cares about is the message. And the message is, I am the most powerful man in this room, and I want every single person here to understand that before I even dismount. I mean, think about the visual language of this entrance. Everyone else in the throne room is standing. They are on foot, looking up. Tywin is above them, literally elevated, moving through their ranks on an animal that could trample any one of them. The camera shoots him from below, and the effect is unmistakable. This is a conqueror arriving, not a servant answering a summons. He is coming to claim what is his, and the ceremony is just the wrapping paper. And then Joffrey opens his mouth. The boy king stands up from the Iron Throne and delivers the formal declaration.
Tywin Lannister, the savior of the city, and the hand of the king.
And if you take this at face value, it's a grandson honoring his grandfather for a military victory. A young ruler rewarding his most powerful ally. Simple enough. But watch closely because it's really about something completely different. Look at the power dynamics in this room. Joffrey is technically the one granting the title. He's the king. The words come out of his mouth. But everything about the staging tells you who's actually in charge. Joffrey is a boy playing dress-up on a throne he didn't earn, handing a title to a man who has held more real power than any king in living memory. Tywin served as hand under the Mad King for 20 years. He basically ran the 7 kingdoms while Aerys spiraled into paranoia and cruelty. He knows what the job is. He's done it before, and he doesn't need a teenager's permission to do it again. So the ceremony isn't Joffrey elevating Tywin. It's Tywin allowing Joffrey to feel like he's elevating him. The whole thing is theatre. A carefully staged piece of political performance designed to make the court believe that the chain of command flows downward from the throne, when in reality, from this moment forward, it flows upward from the hand. Now, let's talk about what this scene means for the person who isn't in the room, Tyrion, right? Because while this ceremony is happening, while Tywin is riding his horse through the Red Keep and collecting honors, Tyrion Lannister is lying in a bed somewhere in the castle with his face cut open. He nearly died defending this city. He designed the wildfire trap that destroyed the bulk of Stannis' fleet. He rallied the troops when Joffrey fled. He led the sortie through the tunnels that broke the siege from behind. And then, for his trouble, one of Joffrey's own Kingsguard tried to murder him in the middle of the battle. A hit almost certainly ordered by Cersei. And what does he get? Nothing. Worse than nothing. He gets erased. Varys visits him after the battle and basically tells him the truth.
Sir Mandon Moore tried to kill you on your sister's orders.
No one will credit him for saving the city. The histories won't mention him. The king won't thank him. His wildfire, his strategy, his blood, all of it will be attributed to the man now riding a horse through the throne room. Actually, it's even worse than erasure. It's replacement. Pycelle, the same Grand Maester Tyrion had thrown in a dungeon for being a Cersei loyalist, is out of his cell. Bronn has been stripped of his command over the gold cloaks. Every lever of power Tyrion built for himself during his time as acting hand has been quietly dismantled. So it's not just that Tywin takes the title, he takes the infrastructure. He removes every trace of Tyrion's influence as though it never existed. The thing is, this isn't just Tywin stealing credit. It's the show telling you exactly how power works in Westeros. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter if you're the reason the walls didn't fall. What matters is who shows up afterward with the biggest army and the loudest entrance. Tyrion won the battle, Tywin won the war, and in the Game of Thrones, winning the war is the only thing that gets you a title. And look at how this moment connects backward in the story. Just one season earlier,
You will serve as Hand of the King in my stead.
he told him to rule. He called him his son. It was one of the only times Tywin ever acknowledged Tyrion's abilities. And Tyrion did exactly what was asked of him. He outmaneuvered Cersei. He purged the small council of liabilities. He fortified the city's defenses. And he put himself in physical danger to hold the line when everything was falling apart. He did the job better than anyone could have expected. The understudy is sent back to the shadows. It's brutal and it's completely predictable because this is who Tywin has always been. He will use Tyrion when no one else is available and discard him the instant a better option presents itself. Again though, what makes this scene so effective isn't just the politics, it's the staging. The showrunners make a very deliberate choice to contrast Tywin's grand entrance with Tyrion's total absence. We never see Tyrion in the throne room. We never see him watching from a balcony or hearing about it secondhand. He's just gone. He's been physically removed from the narrative of the battle, just as he's been politically removed from its outcome. The man who saved King's Landing doesn't even get to attend the party. Well, and then there's the Tyrell piece of this puzzle, which adds a whole other layer, because Tywin didn't win the Blackwater alone. The Tyrells brought a massive army to the fight. Their alliance, brokered by Littlefinger, is the reason Tywin had enough men to overwhelm Stannis.
I would ask you to find it in your heart to do us the great honor of joining our houses.
Joffrey agrees, with a performance of reluctance so rehearsed it's almost funny, and Sansa's betrothal is dissolved. He takes control of the crown by positioning himself as the power behind a child king, and he locks in the Tyrell alliance by facilitating a royal marriage. 2 moves, 1 throne room, 1 horse. It's a clinic in political consolidation. Every reward being handed out in this scene is actually a chain being fastened. Every honor is a leash. The Tyrells think they're gaining influence. Joffrey thinks he's being generous, but Tywin is the only person in the room who understands what's really happening. He's building a cage around the Iron Throne, and everyone inside it will answer to him. And you know what makes it all the more cutting? The horse manure. I keep coming back to it because I think it's one of the most underrated visual details in the entire first 2 seasons. Tywin Lannister, the most image-conscious man in Westeros, the man who built his entire legacy on the perception of Lannister, strength and dignity, and his horse takes a dump on the floor of the most important room in the kingdom. The showrunners leave it in. They let it happen, and yet nobody in the scene reacts to it. Nobody dares. Not one lord, not one knight, not even Joffrey, who throws tantrums over imagined slights every other episode. Basically, that's the whole scene in miniature. Tywin can walk into the seat of power, let his horse soil the floor, and not a single person will say a word, because he's Tywin Lannister, because the alternative to accepting his authority is Stannis Baratheon breaking down the gates. because every lord in that room knows that the man on the horse is the reason they're still alive, and they will swallow whatever indignity comes with that fact. But from Tyrion's side, lying in that bed with a scar that will mark him for the rest of his life, this moment means something else entirely. It means the door his father opened in that war tent, the one where Tywin poured him wine and called him his son, has now been slammed shut. Whatever respect Tyrion earned by holding King's Landing together, whatever brief flicker of recognition he saw in his father's eyes, it's over. Tywin has arrived, and there is only room for one Lannister at the top, and that forward motion, that slow, grinding erasure of everything Tyrion accomplished, will define their relationship for the next 2 seasons. Tyrion will be demoted to Master of Coin. He'll be married off to Sansa Stark as a political tool. He'll be denied Casterly Rock, and eventually he'll be framed for a murder he didn't commit, put on trial by the father who was supposed to protect him, and sentenced to die. Every step of that downfall starts here, in this throne room, with this horse, with this title. So the next time you watch Tywin Lannister ride through those doors, pay attention to who isn't there. Pay attention to the empty space where Tyrion should be standing, because that absence is the real story of this scene. The man who saved the city is bleeding in a back room, and the man who arrived after the hard part was over is collecting the crown's gratitude from the back of a horse. That's power in Westeros, not who fights the battle, who rides in after.